What's been the most difficult conversation that you've had with your parents regarding your footballing career?
The hardest conversation was I was never the standout player in any of my squads. We were playing at home and I took a shot in the warm-up. Absolutely no chance. I couldn't even run. I've left the impression in Wales that I was an unfit player, and anyone that knows me would never describe me as an unfit player. I feel like I'm a professional footballer that wasn't meant to be a professional footballer. I've definitely heard of incidents of players that are only in certain clubs because of their parent being a sponsor or their agents having agreements with the players. Overthinking and being too concerned about things is something that has affected me for a really long time. The worst piece of advice I've ever been told was when I was younger.
Welcome to the Amateur Football YouTube channel, the Stoppage Time Penalty Show. As you can see, we are here in a different environment. Everyone likes the kind of physical meetups. And I have the pleasure of having Jose Ferreira on the sofa. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very good, Fabrice. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for having me today. And I'm really excited for it. You know, it's the first time we're finally meeting after all this time.
I know. So, yeah, again, I've got a lot to talk about. But yeah, let's kind of go straight into it. Your first footballing memory.
Footballing memory. Playing or watching?
Both.
Anything?
Yeah, actually, both, actually.
Both?
Yeah.
Okay. Watching, so my dad took me to the Sporting Lisbon game, and I very vaguely remember it's still the old stadium, so this is pre-Euro 2004. So we had like these Olympic, the Olympic logo from the Olympics in the back, and that's where we sat, literally just below them. And that's my first footballing memory. I cannot remember the game, but this must have been probably about 2002. I think I was about 4. So it's like quite vivid of the atmosphere there. So that's my first. I was still young. I used to take my toy cars and everything to the game. My dad had to keep me engaged, keep me distracted. I think my attention span probably lasted the first 45 minutes, but yeah, that was my first memory, and I was a regular at that stadium, even the new stadium as well with my dad. Still got my season ticket at Sporting Lisbon as well. I mean, obviously, it's a lot more difficult to make games now, but it's a big part of my childhood. Playing wise, so I remember being very young, and I was at my school, and I remember seeing a group of kids playing football in my school. So it was like a football club. It was kids kick about, that type of stuff. And I remember walking past and watching it and thinking, oh, I want to join this. But I remember the majority of the kids playing that were like older age groups as well. I think it must have been maybe year 2 or year 3 maybe, and or maybe everyone was a lot older, probably in the year 6, year 5, year 4 category. But yeah, my parents got me signed up, and that's how I kicked the ball for the first couple of times, and it's good memories. Obviously, I played with my dad. I played with friends as well, and even on my own. And it's my young memories of playing football.
Mm. And you've mentioned dad especially. I mean, how important has your dad been and your parents been in terms of your kind of footballing journey?
Yeah, my parents they've been a massive influence on it. I think they obviously gave me the opportunity to play football when I was younger. If it wasn't up to them, driving me to games and driving me to training, and obviously registration fees, all the sorts of stuff that comes with playing football. They were a big part of it. Without them, I would have never done it. When it came to playing professionally, my dad always wanted me to follow the education path and not exactly the football path. So we had to find like a nice balance throughout my career, where university was still a part of it, and maybe that meant playing semi-pro instead of going to another country and playing full time. It was about keeping that balance of education and playing, and I've managed to do that even throughout school. School was always a priority until a certain point where I was more independent, and then I could make football the priority, and that was my decision. It was my risk to take. But obviously, I would have never been able to do anything that I've done, even go to Finland. Even that, we'll obviously get into that later on, but even that wouldn't have been possible for me without my parents and their support. So definitely a major part of my career. I'm very grateful for them as well.
And are you the only sibling? What's the family dynamic?
I have a half brother and half sister, so they're both living in America now. They have been there for a really long time. There's a big age gap between us. I pretty much grew up as an only child in the household, as my siblings had moved on. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
And do you like still talk to your half brother and sister?
Yeah. I spoke to my sister actually around Christmas as well. My brother's just visited Portugal not long ago as well. I'm still in touch with them. You know, I've got my nephews as well. I'm in touch with them. Well, on my brother's side, he's a bit younger, but I'm in touch with my John on my sister's side as well. And we keep in touch. Obviously, the distance makes things quite difficult. I do plan to go visit them at some point. I wanted to go for my nephew's graduation, but COVID kind of cancelled all of that. Cancelled a lot of our plans for a couple of years. So, but we're still in touch. Definitely. I think they're coming in March now, and it's in the plans of, obviously, depending on the season, that potentially going back and catching up with everyone again.
What's been the most difficult conversation that you've had with your parents regarding your footballing career?
I think the hardest conversation was them, like, getting it through to them that this is something I want to risk. And I say risk because you never know what's going to happen in football. You never know when it's going to end. You're just always one, like, especially the way I play, you're always one bad tackle away from everything ending. So I understand their side, that they wanted me to follow education and have that, that plan for if things go wrong. But obviously it was difficult to get it through to them that this is something important to me as well. It's something that I really want to do. It's something that I really want to risk doing. So I think it's always a difficult conversation, and I think we still have difficult conversations at every point. Going to Finland, getting it through them that was something important to me as well. That was a difficult conversation as well, and I think it was that was the main one. It was just them understanding the importance of it to me and how much it means to me to be able to pursue it.
So with your journey from going into your teens, when did you know, I kind of have a bit of a special talent for this. Let me kind of double down on this ability that I have to actually play football.
It wasn't even my teens. It was
Wow.
It was a really late decision. So when I came over to England, I think that was I did that. I came over 17, turning 18. That was the point that I knew, okay, this is what I want to do. There's nothing that will, nothing else I want to do. That I see this is the closest I've been. And at that point, so I think 18 is when I decided this is a bit of me. This is my special talent. When I obviously as a younger player in the youth ages, I did stand out, but I was never the standout player in any of my squads.
Okay.
I was a good player in the team, but there was always someone who everyone said, oh, he's gonna be a professional footballer, he's going places. And I look back into it now, and I'm the only one that still plays professionally today. It's I survived the filter, I guess, but I think 18 is the key point for me, where I'd say, I'm going to be a professional footballer.
And at the age of 18, what did you see, or what did you feel for you to make that jump?
It was when I came to England, I saw opportunity. I looked around, and there's so many like non-league teams, so many semi-pro teams. There was academies, under 23s, and at the time, when I came over to England, Portugal didn't have the under 23 league yet. So you were an under 19 and then straight into a first team. And if you weren't at Sporting, Benfica, Porto, Braga, Guimarães, if you're not playing at that under 19s level, it's very difficult for you to make it professionally. You'll probably if you're playing at those teams in the academy level, you'll probably get filtered into the League 3 at the time, maybe League 2 with a bit of luck. Very hard to progress into the Portuguese Premier League with the amount of foreign players in the country. But for me, I was only playing at district level as well, so like the equivalent of an amateur team, because we only have the amateur and the professional. And it was in Portugal. It was difficult for me to see the opportunity to progress. But when I came here, I saw so much opportunity, and I knew automatically at the level that I was that I would be able to find something at semi-pro. And then it's just a matter of building on that and step by step, and that's how I focused on it. You know how people take seasons game by game. I did that before my career. I took every season by season, step by step, just pushing myself every year to go as far as I can. And that's what's helped me. Every year it's my personal objective to take a step up. And that's how I've faced it throughout the last couple of years.
And you play as a right back.
Yeah, so...
You know, I shouldn't say... I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think anyone wants to grow up to be a right back. I don't know.
I loved it. So, I started as a striker.
Okay.
And then got moved to winger because I was quite fast. And luckily I managed to maintain that as well. But I remember once when I was in my first year of under-19s. Oh, actually, for my school team, I played right back occasionally as well. Because just of the style we played, it meant I was going to get a lot more of the ball as a fullback bombing forward. Basically, and my actual team, so actual competitive football, I played mainly winger. And then our right backs had an injury, and because I was already playing for the school team, I said, it doesn't really make much sense me playing one position in one team and then another position in the other team. I said, I'll just play fullback for both teams, and I can focus and just master it. So it was one way. It was just basically me thinking, okay, well, this is going to give me the best chance of like dominating this position and playing full time if I understand it completely. So I didn't want to have to like understand one way of playing in one position and then the other one. It was just, I thought it was better to just focus on one. So that's what I did. I focused on right back after my teammate suffered an injury, and I stayed right back ever since. And actually, it wasn't the under-19s, it was under-17s. That's what it was, that I moved to right back, and I've sort of not moved since. So the last couple of seasons, so in 2019-20, when I was playing non-league, when we were losing, I'd occasionally get moved to right winger so they could hit long balls for me. And then eventually it just became a permanent thing that I was just playing right winger. When I went to Finland as well, I did get used as right winger quite a few times. And to be honest, I absolutely love the position. I'd be quite happy to play right back or right winger or left winger as well, cutting in as well, playing inside, giving space for the left back. So I'm pretty flexible. I do prefer the wing back and wing, definitely. So I'm pretty versatile though.
Okay. So when you moved to the UK at the age of 18, can you kind of talk about the process from you moving and then going to a team in Wales?
Yeah. So I moved to England in 2016. And that was my first taste of English football. After that season in 2016-17, when I first moved to Liverpool, I was living in Liverpool. And I went into uni there. Going into university there obviously took up a lot of my time, which meant that I would have to pursue non-league football. So I played non-league football between 2017 and 2020 when I graduated.
And can I ask what you graduated?
So I graduated from Liverpool John Moores University with a sports business degree. I do have a master's as well from King's College London in marketing. That's just finished online while I was in Finland. But sports business was between those years while I was playing non-league. When I finished the first season in Liverpool, I did have the chance to go play full-time. So I trialed at a couple clubs in England and I had the chance to go back to Portugal and play. But then this is where education came in. It was the agreement with my dad. I'd go into education and then I could try football. One way I do think about it, and I think, if I started playing in the third league in Portugal at 18, maybe I could have had so many more opportunities. But at the same time, you don't know what could happen. Maybe not. Maybe those years in non-league shaped me as a player. made me stronger, made me understand football a bit better. Maybe that's what led to today. But when I finished in uni, then I went to the Portuguese third league. That was my first professional full-time season. Massive experience for me, massive learning experience. It was, I think, another moment that changed everything for me. And we got promoted at the end of the season as well. Just being around that team was really good for me, learning-wise. I was managed by Jose Ferreira, who's a Portuguese football legend, striker, scored goals for fun, absolutely talented player. And as a person, he was a very important manager for me as well. He's taught me a lot throughout the year, taught me a lot about football, and a big part of how I ended up in Wales. Wales represented a big opportunity for me because it was the Welsh Premier League. It was a chance for me. It was a chance to play a Premier League and potentially go into Europe. So it's always been a big goal of mine, make it into a European competition. Unfortunately, things while I was there didn't quite work out for a lot of reasons. I had my first injury. I'd never been injured before until then. A few other factors didn't quite help. Maybe I didn't settle in. I don't know. I thought I was settled in, but it's football. But it was a really exciting opportunity for me, and I think again is a learning. Everything's about learning, and it was a big part of my career as well.
You spoke about your injury, and I could see your face, your tone changed. Can you talk about what that injury was and how that just impacted you as a human being?
Yeah. So this is it's a bit of a weird one. So when I was in Wales, we didn't have a physiotherapist with us at the time, with the club, and so obviously I didn't really have someone to go to with the pains and injuries. It's I felt when I was warming up for a game in Cardiff, I felt a bit of a pain in my abdominal and left adductor area, and I kind of kept going. We had a sports scientist who we'd go to, but he did say that he was a sports scientist, but he tried to help as much as he could. He did mention to say, "Oh, you just play on it, and then we'll see." So I played on it.
Wow.
And the week after, we had another game, and I was pinging a ball, and it was not right. Again, abdominal, really bad pain. But I told the manager, "There's no chance I can play today." So I went on the bench. Week after, a couple of days later, because this was a midweek game. No, this was a Saturday game. Then the midweek game came. We were playing at home, and I took a shot in the warm up. Absolutely no chance. I couldn't even run. Couldn't even move. I ended up in A&E that night because I went to the other team's physio, and he checked my abdominal area. So we thought it could be a hernia, which obviously would have been considerably worse than what it actually was. So it turns out it was just a torn abdominal. It could have been a hernia. It could have been a lot worse. Obviously, if there's a tear and it's popping out and it tightens, then it's very dangerous. You need surgery on that. So I went to A&E, ended up staying in Wrexham Hospital for about 13, 15 hours. I couldn't remember the exact amount. It was in between those. It was not good. Molly was sleeping in the car as well as all of this was happening because I was quite nervous about it. We ended up getting it checked, and they couldn't tell what it was, so they said I had to seek further tests. I ended up going to Spire Hospital, getting tested, and it turns out that when they did the scans, they just said it was a tear. But I just had to be out for a while, and it was a very difficult time for me. It was I didn't really know how to deal with it because it had never happened to me before. I didn't know how to stop. It was weird for me not training. I didn't know what to do with myself. It was a bit weird, a really hard period for me. But I'm really glad with how the recovery went in the end because I feel like I've left the impression in Wales that I was an unfit player, and anyone that knows me would never describe me as an unfit player. I think you can talk to my coaches in Blackpool. They'd be able to say that that's really not I'd describe me as fast. They describe me as fit, especially the way I train, the way I like to train. They would have never described me that way, but I think I left that impression in Wales, and it disappoints me.
Do you think you left that impression, or was that the kind of whiff? I don't know. Were you kind of getting that impression from other players, management that that actually that was your, but yeah, that was you just being injury prone and unfit?
Well, at the time that my agent was told that he's never fit, and I'm not sure who said it. He didn't specify, and I mean, that's the way they feel about me is their responsibility. I'm not responsible for the way they feel. I know about how much training I do for myself. Anyone that knows me knows that. The amount of stress it puts on my personal life as well. So that's the way they felt. I think that's how they felt, especially from what they said to him, to my agent. But it's not my responsibility that they felt that way, because, and I know that now, but I don't like that I've left that impression as well. There's nothing I can do about it, man. I mean, I didn't have treatment as well, so I had to get it after. It's just how it went. It's just unfortunate. I feel bad about it because I feel like if things had went well in Wales, it could have been a massive opportunity for me, and I would have liked to contribute for the belief that they had in me. So I'm a bit disappointed with how it went, really.
So from your experiences from Wales, you move on to an amazing opportunity in Finland. I'd love to know a little bit more about how that opportunity came.
So in Finland, I was managed by an amazing coach, Luis Figueiredo. Me and Luis had briefly spoke in November, and it was about something completely different, nothing to do with me going out to Finland. Not that people think that he was poaching their players, their contracted players a couple of months before. I don't want that impression to be out there.
No.
Oh. But yeah, we spoke about something completely different. He's a big Chester fan, so we were talking. I was living in Wrexham, not too far from Chester as well, and we were talking about that. And then in January, so literally a couple of days from the transfer window, Luis Figueiredo calls me. I remember this so clearly. Me and Molly were off to Chester, and for a day out, because at that point, actually, I was telling someone the story yesterday. Basically, I was sat in the sofa because I was just so, borderline depressed at that point as well. I didn't want to play football anymore. I was really down. So I think she walked in from the kitchen. Our kitchen was more or less there, and I was like this. I didn't know what to do with myself. And there's only so much Warzone and FIFA I could play all day. Just recovered from injury as well. And she was like, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't think I want to play football anymore. Like, I'm not feeling it anymore. She's like, okay, don't think about it. It's your day off tomorrow. We'll get in the car. We'll go to Chester. We're going to a board game cafe. That's what it was. So we're about to get in the car. My phone rings. Luis Figueiredo. And he's like, so, do you want to come play in Finland? I said yes. And he's like, oh, do you not want to hear about the conditions and what it's like? And I was like, I'll come. I mean, you can tell me, but my decision's made, Wow. You can tell me now. So, we went over, and Kajan in Haka, it's honestly, it's hard to talk about in a good way, because it's a very, I enjoyed it so much. It's honestly like the happiest I've ever been playing football. It was a really amazing year. It made me fall in love with football again. And when he called me, the conditions as well were like, we were on the way from Wrexham to Chester. And he just went over everything. It just sounded amazing. I'd already seen the videos of the team playing, because when we spoke in November, he showed me everything. They played beautiful football. He got, in a non-footballing country, because ice hockey is the biggest sport in Finland, he got this team playing. They gotten promoted as well, playing this amazing football, and it excited me. And I knew they had gym, they had pool, we were training full time. We had all the conditions, physio, doctor, all the conditions to succeed. The club's budget wasn't obviously outstanding, but they gave us everything to be the best players we could be. It was an amazing experience, and the more he told me about it and this trip from Wrexham to Chester, the more I was convinced that this is what I wanted to do. So I called my family as well, told them, right, I'm going to Finland. And I touched on the subject about maybe trying my luck there not long before, but told them I'm going to Finland. They're like, no. My dad was like, no, Finland's so cold. It's so far. You're not going to Finland. I was like, I'm going to Finland. And they said, we agreed, like, I'd come to Portugal first and, like, think about it. I'd already signed the documents to go over, so it didn't really make much of a difference. I went to Portugal anyways, and they ended up, like, coming with me because they couldn't believe that I was coming to Finland. And, yeah, I'm so glad I did it, honestly. It was such an amazing experience.
I want to go back to when you were sitting down, when you literally fell out of love of football. If you didn't get that phone call, what do you think you would have done for the remainder of that week, month, or possibly year?
It would have been a very difficult one for me. I don't know if I don't know how the situation would have changed. It's hard to look back at it and think about how things could have been different. Maybe, I mean, I went on to have a season where I played 100% of the minutes I was available. I had no injuries. I was fit. I didn't have any problems throughout my season in Finland. So there's a chance if I'd stayed in Wales, that could have happened. However, maybe the fresh start is what was important for that to happen again. And it's like trying something new, learning again. Because I think I would have found it really difficult in the state that I was to pick back up and getting back to where I was before. The good thing was I was traveling from Wrexham to Blackpool to work with Dave Mendonça. He's the fitness coach I usually work with football-wise over the summer. So we do a lot of he's got quite a good group of players going as well. And I usually go back and we do a lot of running, stuff on the ball as well. Focus on he fixed my running mechanics, which was a big part of why I hit a lot of the speeds in the high 30s throughout my career. And the general fitness that I have, a lot of it is thanks to the work that we've done together. So I did start doing that just before I went to Finland. So I was traveling from Wrexham to Blackpool every Monday to train with him. So maybe it would have been that I would have gone back to where I was before and managed to pick back up on it even as a player. But in reality, I wasn't really feeling valued. I felt like just one of the pack, and it was especially like being out of the team as well, injured, watching it from the outside. You feel like a spectator. I feel like I could have, I feel like I could have just been in the stands watching it. I had a season ticket. I wasn't a player, so I think it would have been really difficult to pick myself back up after that. And I would have just been a burden on Molly, to be honest, throughout the whole time, and my family. So yeah.
You like talk very fondly of Molly, your like girlfriend. How did you guys meet? And again, like, what influence has she been on your career?
Yeah. So Molly used to be a flatmate of a friend of mine, and we met by pure chance. Actually, I left my jacket. Wait, so we?
Yeah, right. I left my jacket.
No. I went out with I hadn't met her at this point, so I went out with a couple of friends. I didn't even know she was like living there, So I left my jacket in a mate's room, and we went out, and I was gonna go home, and I was like, oh, my jacket. So I'll go back, and literally when I went back, that's when I met Molly. She was just in the kitchen by pure chance. I knew, like, she, obviously not random, that just walked in. She was the flatmate, but yeah. So we met then, and it started out as friends. So like, my mate's flatmate friends. But then things just. I came back once from Portugal to see her as well, and I think it was like spending so much time together. We have a lot in common as well, and she's a big support of for football for me. Even at times where like it looks like I don't know what the next step is, she helps. She's a big help. It's a major part of my career. And even now, like, because when I'm at points where I don't know what's going on next, she helps me like seeing what's in front first instead of thinking about the bigger picture, So, a very big part of it, yeah.
She's like really special to you.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. a major part of like all the success I've had.
What's kind of been the biggest sacrifice that you've had to make in your life so far?
So for me, it's always leaving my family. So I think I've mentioned this before, like in our programs, that when so for example, I was playing in Finland. Molly came out with me but didn't stay, so she went back to the UK, and she's working here as well. So when I'm in Finland, I'm away from her and my parents and my friends, obviously. When I was playing in Portugal, I was away from Molly, but I was with my parents. Although my parents did come to see me quite a lot in Cani, which was really nice. But yeah. So when I was playing in England, I'm with Molly, but I'm away from my parents. So it's the fact that whatever decision I make, I'm always away from someone. And so the biggest sacrifice for me is not being able to see my parents, not seeing my girlfriend, not seeing my family. It's very difficult. But it's football. The reality of football is very difficult. And it's obviously there's a lot more sacrifices in it. Like when you're at uni and you still want to be a player, you can't live the full uni experience. You can't live the full uni life. Even when I'm like playing, my groups of friends want to do something together. I have a very strong group of friends from school that we're still like all really good friends with. Despite all of us like living in different corners of the world, we're all still really close. Sometimes they all want to get together and do things, so we'll organize like traveling together or whatever. And I can't always make that because of the way the season goes. So I remember like the last time I saw them was November, not this November, the 1 year before. We all went to Belgium together. So I had a couple of days off, and I said literally, this is the only 3 days I have. They wanted to do something, so we all went to Belgium and met up. So obviously I wouldn't be able to do that very regularly whilst they can, because, you know, just take time off their jobs, and I can't just take time off football, because if I take a weekend off, next week someone else will be in my place. Everyone's replaceable. So there's a lot of sacrifices to football, but definitely for me the biggest one is being away from my family.
You're a very driven individual, very, very focused, and we had a brief conversation about how no one's really going to take your like dreams away from you. Was that instilled at, you know, at birth? I mean, how like do you have this kind of Steellike mentality in terms of your footballing journey?
So I think my dad's a big example of that, because he's very driven himself. He's reached a very good position in his career just from like being very hardworking, very driven. So I think obviously I can look back into that and see, you know, I definitely see where I got that from, you know, and I think that's a big part of why I'm this way. But another reason I always say is I feel like I'm a professional footballer that wasn't meant to be a professional footballer. And this isn't because I didn't want to be a professional footballer. That's not what I'm saying. It's because a lot of things, I was lucky enough to live like a comfortable life as a child. So I could have like unambitiously and comfortably just followed university, got a job, followed the career path, you know. I could have easily done that, and that would have been an easy path. But I chose to force my way into professional football almost by just being resilient and by not giving up, just believing that the opportunity is always around the corner. So basically, I wasn't in an academy. I wasn't in like, you know, I didn't do like 10 years in academy or anything where I could have just gone into the first team. I had to literally force my way into a system where I wasn't even in. So I think part of that is a big reason why. The word I use, like, I don't know if you remember the metaphor I've used before, which is the funnel. So I think I've mentioned this with you before once. So basically, to be a professional footballer, it's like someone's throwing a bunch of water in a funnel. So obviously, a large quantity of it's going to go out through the sides. Those are the players that have missed it. So you just have to survive that filter, go in the funnel, you know? You have to survive that filter of everyone just trying to do it. And I've managed to survive the filter. And I think if I wasn't driven, if I wasn't resilient, I wouldn't have been able to, because of the pure competition around.
And regarding the kind of competition around, and you've like mentioned with the competition, and something that I've kind of just latched onto, you said football is almost like a system. Like you like had to force yourself into the footballing system. Do you believe that there's some players that have an easier way into an academy or possibly the pro game than yourself and other players that had to come via another route?
100%. It is. I have no doubt of this. And this is not just, like, I know this because of things I've seen, conversations I've heard just from being sat silently in the corner in the right place at the right time. I know I've learned so much that goes on in football that people like have no idea. Literally, people think it's like, a lot of people think football is just that 1 hour and a half, like, maths. 1 hour and a half. 1 hour and a half kickabout on the weekend. And it's not. There's like so much that goes into it, and there's so much of the dark side of football as well. And a lot of players got it easy from that dark side of the football. A lot of players are just molded from a young age and you know, even at academies, there might be a squad of like 20 players or so, but there's 19 players that might be there because of that one player, because he can't play on his own. So say, I don't know, there's one good player, one good centre mid. He you know, they know he's going to be in the first team, but he's not going to play 1v11 every week until he's in the first team. So they'll just rash out 10 random players to play around them with no, they might, if they work out, they work out, great. If they don't, they don't. Who cares? Because they can do that. Academies can pick whoever they want. And again, that might be an easy path for that one player that we don't know of, because we don't know how it's working around. But I've definitely heard of incidents of players that are only in certain clubs because of their parent being a sponsor or their agents having agreements with the players. The more I'm involved in football, I've heard of that. I've seen that. And fortunately not for many of the clubs I've been involved with. I should say that now, that they were all being really professional and good clubs. But I know that in different clubs, in the, like even in the leagues and everything, it's just football.
And like, how does that make you feel, knowing what you know?
It's always frustrating, of course, because I would have loved to have it easy like that myself as well. But then again, if you don't enjoy the grind, if you don't enjoy the process of it, then is there really much point? If you're just gifted something, I don't think you really appreciate it. If I woke up one morning and my dad said, "All right, I just paid 100,000 to this guy. You're going to play at Benfica for the rest of your life," you know, I might feel good about, like, okay, good. Am I really a professional footballer though? If that's what's happened, if I haven't earned that right to be there, if I'm just there because of who got paid off, I think I'd feel unaccomplished. And I don't think I would have felt right about it. So obviously it's frustrating to know that there's all these things going on, but it's like anything in life. You can't control that. And I'm taking responsibility for the fact that there's nothing I can do about that. So I can only take responsibility for myself and do what I can for myself. I can't control the external factors. It's just, you have to almost be indifferent to them.
So from the darkness of football to the shining light of football, let's correct me if I'm wrong. You was voted players player.
Yeah, player of the season for Kajanin Haka last season. It's the my Finnish is really not very good yet. Arnon Malja, I think. Aaron's Bowl, essentially. So it's the prize that Kayanin Haka gifts to the player of the season. And it's a big deal. It was really nice to see, yeah. I was actually like, I'd already left Finland when it was gifted, so I've actually not even seen the trophy yet. So I really want to go back and actually like hold it, get a picture and all that, because it happened. I'd already left. Basically, our season finished. I spent a week or so with the activities with the club, still saying goodbye to everyone, and then I went back to England. But the presentation was on a Saturday, literally a couple of days after I left, and I didn't know it was happening. And I didn't know I was going to win it either. And obviously, like, you can hardly ask if for something like that. So I literally just found out it was happening, and I messaged. Must be really funny, actually, because I was messaging them telling me, oh, is it live streamed? Is there any way of me watching? Because I want to be involved. Like, I want to watch. And they probably sat there in Finland knowing that I'm about to win it. They probably knew about it already, and nobody said anything, And then one day they just text. I asked Uti, the head of marketing, and I asked her for a couple of pictures at the event, and she said, "Oh yeah, here's one." And then there's my name on the trophy. I was like, "What is this?" And she sent another video, and it was them announcing it. So that's how I found out.
Wow.
Yeah, but it was essentially gifted basically based on professionalism for the season. I think the exact words the Kariag fitness coach used was the level of professionalism, the way I took nutrition, and he used me as an example for like all the youth players watching as well, which was like really nice for me to hear. Because I mean, that's not why I do things, right? I obviously do things the way I do because I want to be better. But it was nice to see that it was valued there. It was really good for me.
And how was it? I think you're still playing it down. I mean, it's huge. It's absolutely huge, and with like everything that you went through in Wales, that like must have been a feeling of wow, like I literally belong on this stage. Like this is something that I've worked my nuts off to actually deserve.
Yeah, it was definitely a massive reward for the year that it was as well, considering everything that happened. And it was definitely really special. It felt special, but I was just happy because I wouldn't have been able to do it if it wasn't for Luis Figueiredo giving me the opportunity to come to Finland, and for obviously because of all the conditions that President Jarmo Antonen gave to us. If I didn't have all that would have never been possible. And it picked me up. It really picked me up, especially after everything that happened. It was like a new sense of belief. And it's not even because they gave me the award or anything. Just the way the whole year played out in Finland, that club will forever be like really special to me. It was just like a really amazing ending for it, and it's something I like to pick up on now. On this massive high. It was. I don't even know. Like, I'm speechless just trying to describe it. Honestly, it felt really important to me as well.
Let's kind of talk about some of the antics that some of your fellow teammates have kind of got themselves into. Everyone knows in the changing room and whatnot. There's always stories that kind of that can go on. Can you kind of talk about any like stories and like any kind of crazy situations that teammates have got themselves into?
Our goalkeeper got injured a couple of games into the season. Oh, well, he got suspended, sorry. He got a red card. I've kind of just spoiled the story now, but he got a red card, and throughout his 3-match suspension for a direct red, he got injured and retired.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
It's just when the first thing happens and you're like, oh, okay, and then this happens and you're like, literally a couple of games into the season, you're like, oh, is this how this year's gonna go? You know what? The best thing was we had a 16-year-old goalkeeper on the bench. We don't usually have a goalkeeper in the bench, but that day we decided to have a goalkeeper in the bench, and he came on in man of the match. He was absolutely brilliant, and like unfortunately, like things weren't as easy later on, because inexperience, and he still has to develop. But it was, he did have a really good game. Actually, my favorite part of that game was my dad came with us to that game, and this is a story that not many people know yet, so this is new. So my dad, I kind of gave him the camera because we wanted to clip a couple of pictures of the game for the articles for the club and everything. And so for him to get on the pitch, the other team came and questioned who this person was, and he was like, "Oh, I'm a reporter. I'm a reporter from Portugal." And we've just gone with reporting on the game. We have a lot of Portuguese players, but yeah. Eventually, obviously, because he's only getting pictures of us, he could see the other team kind of looking like, oh, this reporter only seems to care about them. So he went to the other side and he started clipping pictures of the players in the other team as well. Like I lost it when I turned, and I saw the players posing for full-on pictures and everything.
That's amazing.
And then the best part was when I was flicking through the pictures to pass them on to the club, and there's pictures of the players just going, and I was like.
That's amazing.
But it's just antics. Just before the last game of the season, the local newspaper put out an article where they criticized mainly the Portuguese players, really, and they criticized the inexperience of the squad, and completely unfairly criticized the manager as well, just because he's a passionate manager. I think it's because it's quite an introverted country, so I understand that it's a bit different from what they're used to. So, but then again, we're about to play the most important game of the season to avoid relegation, and that comes out. That article comes out, and we put it in the changing rooms on the door, and everyone was reading it, and it's just the timing. There's perfectly nothing wrong with writing something like that. It's just do it after the last game of the season when everyone's mind's out of it already. So it's what I said. We felt like a lot of the times throughout the season we were swimming against the current. It was very, it was quite tough. But I had another one as well, but it's slipping my mind now. It's gone. It might come back to me. But yeah.
Okay. So yeah. Talking about criticism and talking about pressure, how do you cope with criticism? And if someone, let's say, someone down the street criticizes you, is it something that you take personally? Or again, in terms of they like talking about how you defend or whatever it is. And if your manager or a player kind of lays into you, I mean, how do you cope with that type of criticism, pressure as well? And is it something that you take home with you? And literally, again, how does Molly and your kind of family dynamic help you in those tough situations?
It's so the dynamic of a coach criticizing you or a player criticizing you is completely different to at least to me personally. The dynamic of someone in the stands criticizing me, because if my manager is criticizing me, it's something that I need to take in because it's for the great good of the team and because it's constructively going to make me a better player. If it's an issue that I have to fix, I always prefer to just be told if something, if I'm doing something wrong, if I'm not doing well. That's why I don't like it when teams, for example, are messing you around a bit, when they're deciding if they're going to sign you or not. If you don't think I'm good, just tell me. I'd rather know if you're not interested. If it's not a good fit for you, I'd rather you just tell me. So it's the same with coaching. I'd rather people just tell me if I'm not doing something right so I can fix it and so I improve as a player. Now, fans criticizing you is completely different because, who's going to know what the right thing to do on a football pitch is? Me, who's playing football, getting paid to play football, or Jimmy from the pub down the road who's never kicked a ball in his life, professionally, and watch all he does is watch a lot of football and listen to TalkSport every once in a while. It's not like they're not going to be they might not be the best source for footballing knowledge compared to my manager who's been doing that for however long he's been doing it, So the dynamic is different. Does it affect you if you're taking criticism from the fans? Of course. And for me personally, it's not the criticism as much that affects me, but it's the fact that my family might have to sit in the stands listening to that criticism. Obviously, they don't know who my family might be in the stands, but just that just doesn't sit right with me. And for example, I'm not one to go and to watch a football game. I won't go watch a Premier League game and shout abuse at a player. And I don't think it's right. I wouldn't go to Co-op and shout abuse at the person scanning my shopping, because she's not scanning it quick enough or whatever. Why I wouldn't do that. Why would I feel like it's normal for me to go to a football game and do it? But people choose to do it, and that's their responsibility. I mean, but the way they feel about me is their responsibility, and the way I take it is my responsibility as well. So I try. It's just water off a duck's back in it.
So kind of going back, and again, you could be Jimmy, could be John, could be Tabrice, but also as well, I kind of have to also look in it on their side. Imagine Jimmy is 55 and he's supported his club. This is his boyhood club.
Yeah.
And he knows the ethos and the history of a club. And he's looking at a manager or a player to come in, they train, they play, and then if the time is right for them to move on, they will move on. And then they've left all of the baggage to the fans to actually deal with. You can see why some fans, especially when their team are not performing, will literally talk to a manager or have a go, however you want to look at it. I mean, they do have a right to, to actually have their opinions.
Do you know what? They've paid for a ticket as well, so whatever they want to do to, make that the experience for them is actually perfectly acceptable as well. That's their choice. I actually understand what you mean, because I'm also a fan of Sporting Lisbon, for example. So I know the feeling of being a fan, but I also know the feeling of being a player. It's a bit of a conflicting one. And honestly, when you're playing 99% of the times, you don't even hear what's going on in the stands. You don't even notice. I've finished games where my family were like, "Oh, did you? They had a drum today. Did you hear the drum?" I was like, "Huh? Is it a drum?" You have to be so focused on the game that it's so hard to explain. It's like you don't even know what's going on. You're just focused on what you're doing. The thing is the social media side of it. So going on social media, and Finland has something which is kind of cool, but also I don't recommend it to probably the majority of players, where they have a massive football forum. So it's called Footage Forum. And on Footage Forum, fans essentially just go and comment about their teams. So it's an anonymous forum. So that says a lot about... Yeah, your face, I think, says it all. It's an anonymous forum. People can say whatever they want. There's no profile pictures. There's nothing. People can put as much criticism or compliments, because there are some compliments as well. But, I heard Kasper Schmeichel say this in the High Performance podcast not long ago, where there might be 200 compliments, but it's that one bit of criticism that you're going to think about. And it is true, and you've just got to not listen to it. But then, again, as I said, the way you take it in is your responsibility. They chose to say it, that's fine. That's their right. The way you take it in is what you can control. And you've just got to be resilient. You just got to believe in yourself, basically, and believe in what you do. So the Finnish Football Forum was a source of a lot of entertainment for me this season. And I say this because of sometimes people have their opinions, but because you're inside the changing rooms, you know what's the dynamics, you know what's going on. It's different. So in my situation, because sometimes people would comment and I'd think, there's not much we can do because they don't know, the question where our keeper is, don't know he's injured and out for the season. They question decisions about players not being in the squad. They don't know that might have a family commitment or something. There's a reason for it. It's not just the manager that suddenly woke up one morning and decided to bin off our top player. It's not nothing is random, even though sometimes it looks on the outside that everything is random, but it's not quite like that. And once you know the context, and once you believe in what you're doing, believe in yourself, you find it a lot easier to just get on with things and be okay with what goes on externally.
We spoke off air about a book that you read, The Art of Not Giving a F, and how. What's the biggest thing that you learned from reading that book?
There was so much. I actually really recommend that book. I've read it in a day, honestly, maybe 2 days, but just I was captivated by it instantly. Overthinking and being too concerned about things is something that has affected me for a really long time. Mm-hmm. Overthinking is one of the reasons I think why I sometimes can't do certain things on the pitch. And I don't mean overthinking as just questioning myself. So that's what I mean. Even though I can do things, I question my ability to do things. And I wish I'd realized that 3 years ago, maybe. Because who knows? But I've only reflected on that over this last season. And this was actually through the help of a sports psychologist as well. That's helped me realize these things. And this book, I was reading it, and I was looking back at certain points of last season, and I was thinking, do you know what? If I thought like this last season, maybe I could have finished the season with goals. Because I would have chosen to take a risk knowing that I can commit, beat that 1v1, or I know I can make that cross, or I know I can make that long shot. But I chose an easier, a safer option because of overthinking and not believing in myself. Molly says it to me quite regularly that not believing in myself is my biggest issue.
And do you think the reason why you don't believe in yourself because you want to please everyone?
Yeah. I guess that maybe that could be what it is. It's just feeling like I have to do the safer thing, the right thing. Because the thing that I took from this book was that, and what he means by not giving an F, it's not like being indifferent. What he means by it is believing in yourself and doing, not caring about what everyone thinks. Or so the example he used, I think, was someone in his, I think it was his mother, got messed around, and she was but she was just accepting it and just being, you can't do anything about it. It is what it is, that type of attitude. And he said, no, we're going to lawyer up, beat this situation, and, you're going to be the winner in this whole situation. He was dead confident about it. And the way he put it was, it's not Mark Manson, the author, doesn't care, he's not indifferent. That's not what he meant. He meant he doesn't give a F. He's gonna take everyone on. He's gonna lawyer up and beat the situation, and that's what he means about it. Just it's not indifference. It's being believing and being the best you can be because you don't care about the outcome. What you're doing is right. So I think that's what I took from it, doing the right thing because you believe in it. And you know what? The way I apply that when I was playing is if I'm making a decision about what the right thing to do on the pitch is, because I know in my, that's the right decision to make. And I feel like sometimes maybe I've played it safe, and maybe I had the ability to take someone on, and I chose to just go back and play the safe option because I thought that was the right thing to do for the greater good. But maybe I would have believed that, I'm a fast player. Maybe I could have taken him on, crossed it, and my striker would have scored. And I've missed out on that chance and played the safe option.
And do you go home and do you analyze and regret certain decisions that you make on the pitch?
I don't regret decisions, because regret doesn't change anything. There's no point. There's nothing I can. Once something is done, I can't change it. So one of the ones I think about is in the last game of the season, 87th minute, we were playing Rops and it was 2-2. And there's a bit of an ongoing joke in my team that I don't score goals because it just hasn't happened. But the ball, so the striker's taking a shot, it's rebounded off a defender, and I've just taken it on my knee in the edge of the box and just volleyed it. And it didn't go in. The keeper saved it. And I could look back into that and think, oh, maybe I could have taken a touch and then just finished it. Maybe I could have been more composed. I could have regretted it. But obviously, it could have gone in, and we could have won that game, the last game of the season. But it didn't go in. There's nothing I can do about it. I can't change it. So there's no point regretting it. I tried. I did what I could. So I don't think... I always go home and analyze the game. So I always look through the videos, see what I've done. But it's for the purpose of improving my decision-making, for the purpose of making the right decision when I'm in that situation the next time. Because football... it's just a compilation of the basics. Every week, you just go out there and you do the basics. If you do the basics right, if you do the basics better than the other team, you'll win. Because football is essentially comprised of the basics. There's no point overcomplicating it. It's a game.
When was the last time that you didn't try on a football pitch?
Didn't try on a football pitch. That's something I can fortunately say that I've never not tried on a football pitch.
In training?
Not even in training. If you don't try in training, you're going to go into the game not trying as well. Not trying is, to me, not trying is, I have to have like some core values, and hard work and giving it my best is one of my core values. So it's one of the few things you can control on the football pitch, how you try and how you work. And I would never not try on a football pitch, because if I go out to training and don't try, I'm going to miss out on an opportunity to improve myself. You know, if I go and do a sprint with my fitness coach, if I don't give it full sprint speed that I physically can at that moment, I'm not going to get my sprint speed better for next time. If I don't fully try to squat that weight, I'm going to miss out on an opportunity of improving my squat weight for the next time. So fortunately, that's something I can say that I've never done, and it's because then I would have a regret, because that is something I can control, and I've missed out on an opportunity.
What's the worst piece of advice you've been told in your football career and in life?
The worst piece of advice? I'm going to have to think about this one, actually. And in life. I think for football, the worst piece of advice I've ever been told was when I was younger. I was encouraged to look at a player and mimic what that player does. So if he does a rainbow flick, I try a rainbow flick. If he's doing step overs, he does step over. I do step overs. If he's trying to dribble past everyone, that's what I've got to do. And I don't think, obviously there's actions that you can look, and obviously for me it's more positional and that type of body shape and that type of stuff. But I can never look at Ronaldo and mimic Ronaldo, because I'm not the type of player to pick up a ball, do 50 step overs, and just try to go through everyone. That's not me. I like to, do things right to the best of my ability. So I wouldn't try and take on a full team, because that's not the type of player I am. So I'd find it quite difficult to just mimic one player, mimic his actions, and because you're not him, you are you. And there's obviously things you can mimic. So as I said, that you can take something that you've seen and try to apply it to your game. Obviously, that's fine, but not doing everything like the same, you know. And I also got told once to just play the safe option and not take risks. And I guess it goes back to what I've just said. Risk. You know, if I didn't take risks, I wouldn't be a professional footballer, because I would have played it safe, gone to uni, and you know, follow that path. Well, I did go to uni anyways, but I mean, follow that path. Life, you only get one chance of it, and everything about it is numbered. We were saying this before as well, off air, weren't we? That we don't know how long we have. We don't know how long we can play football for. So we just got to make the most of it what we can, while we can. So I think a major part of it is taking risks. And if you believe something is the right thing to do, that you should take that risk. If you feel that is the path that is right for you. So yeah.
As a professional footballer, the industry's changed now. Of course, with the women's game now, we've like seen amazing stuff, especially in England, and of course, like the kind of men's game has now exploded. You know, with brands, social media, and like the word of inclusion. You know, it's like something that everyone believes in. So as a professional player, I'd like, love to get your opinion about this. Why do you think no one has come out in the men's game about their sexuality?
Well, I think it's just recently a Scottish League 2 player, as I think it's just come out. Personally, I just don't think it should like be news. Someone's choice. We shouldn't make it like a deal about it. With how much acceptance there is nowadays, we should just accept and be okay with, you know, everyone's choices. And it wouldn't bother. It wouldn't bother me. You know, I think it wouldn't bother 99% of players around the world. And personally, I just don't think we should make like such a massive deal of it. You know, it's just life. You know, it's just people's choices. You know, we shouldn't influence. We shouldn't influence anyone. We shouldn't make anyone feel scared of who they really are. It's okay. You know, it's a bit of a hard one to explain, but. It's not something it's something I just feel should be accepted, and it's not something I feel like we should make a big deal about, you know. It's if someone says they're straight or they wouldn't care, nobody would, like, you know,
it's like not even a conversation.
Yeah, we wouldn't be discussing this, would we? If it was like a player came out as straight, you know. It doesn't happen. And I think at this point it's just it's at the level of acceptance that we were. It's okay, you know. It doesn't have to be. Football is football, you know. It doesn't have to be an issue.
The reason why you're down here in London, I don't want to say too much. I mean, because you can talk about the reasons why we have met here, but you've had some very interesting conversations with like your team. Can you talk about what you and your team are looking to do this season or this year?
So I've said it a lot on the platform that I think 2023 is going to be an amazing year. I think we've had a bit of especially after the high of winning the Player of the Season and everything. There was a bit of a couple of speed bumps across the way the last couple of months. Again, it's everything's a little bit inconclusive, but I feel like 2023 is going to be an amazing year. Of course, I've had calls from a couple of clubs in Europe, a couple of different countries. Again, maybe one or two in the UK, but and obviously, I think I've made it very clear that Cayenne is like a very special club to me as well, and as much as it pains me to say, unfortunately, we got relegated. And it's a really difficult reality because when I look back into it, we did not deserve that. We didn't. Oh, that's what I wanted. The story that I wanted to tell. I just remembered. You were looking at me. I just remembered what it was. Anyway. But yeah, especially with the way that it was and what's recently come out. So one of the games that directly impacted our results being investigated for match fixing. And was it match fix? Was it not? We don't know. Nobody, only those that did it will know. Only if they did it, that is. It's investigations. But yeah, so even considering that we got relegated, I just don't feel like we deserved that. We deserved so much more, especially the amount of work that the president put in for us. He didn't deserve that outcome. And Kayani didn't deserve that outcome. And it's not going to sit right with me. Obviously, I know I did everything in my control, but just it is what it is. But obviously, it's a very special club to me.
But also as well, I can say again, I've got to play two sides. The league table doesn't lie. You have an amount of games to accumulate the points for you to be safe. So if you finish in the relegation zone, then technically you deserve to be there. If you win the league after X amount of games, then you deserve to win the league. So why do you think your team didn't deserve to get relegated?
Well, I guess match fixing situation obviously didn't help. Obviously, we didn't know about it at the time. We still don't know if it's obviously confirmed, so I can only speculate about it. But there was a lot of points throughout the season where we feel like we lost control of as I said, we were swimming against the current. We felt we lost control of things. We couldn't control the retirement of our goalkeeper. That happened. We couldn't control the fact that the striker and the winger felt like missed home and had to return home. They were both quite key players for us at the time as well. We had to wait for the window to open to replace him as well. It was a couple of times where one of our coaches had to play because we had injuries, we had illnesses, COVID naturally, and we didn't have the squad for the games, and we did our best of what we could. It was we were hard done by a lot of external factors. When it was up to us to take responsibility, we did our best of what we could, but there was a lot of external factors that really couldn't be helped. So that's quite impacted us, and I do feel a bit hard done about what's happened there. When we were doing preseason, when everything was like quite set, we looked like we were about to go into the season flying. We hit that first speed bump just before the cup game with our winger leaving, and that's initiated the issues. Because not long after, our goalkeeper got injured, and then we had to again wait to the window to replace him as well. It's factors that we couldn't control because but it's football. Things happen out of the transfer windows, and then it is what it is. You got to get on with it. Also, we couldn't replace the players with the under 17 because we don't have like under 19s. It goes straight from under 17s to first team. So 16, 15-year-olds would have to step up and play. But obviously they had their own competition going as well, and they were up for promotion in their competition. So they had their thing going, and we kind of had to separate both things. And that is why it made it hard for us to maintain a season. We were very limited to what we could do as well. So I think we still did quite a lot with what we had, to be honest. And a lot to it is because of the work that Luis Figueiredo and the president and Kaji and Marcos and everyone did at the club. But you can't help but feel, especially when like individually, you did literally everything you possibly could. All the early nights, the nutrition, everything was so micromanaged. It feels hard with the outcome.
Life after football, is it something that you're 24. You got hopefully decades of like playing, but is it something that you think about?
Yeah, always. At the minute, I'm still focused on as a player and pushing myself to go as far as I can. but naturally, I'm always thinking about things, and I'm always bouncing ideas. I bounce ideas off Molly all the time, and I've got my degree, so sports business, and my master's in marketing, so that's an area of interest of mine. I think I would the way I've the experiences I've had, so with the media and everything as well. I think that's media marketing is a big industry of interest for me, especially in the sports side of things. But I feel like I'd love to experience being a sporting director as well. And naturally, a progression for a player is always coaching as well. I do see myself more in the sporting director or director of football side of things. But there's I don't want to miss steps out. So there's a path to get there as well. And whether that's coaching or getting an experience quite early, that is it could be an ultimate goal as well. But, step by step. And at the minute, the step is still playing. And then I can take the next step when the time comes.
Jose, I just want to say, and I'm sure I've said this to you, like you've been one of the biggest supporters of the platform, and I just wish you the best. For you to even call me and say, look, Tabrice, I'm here. Just kind of let me know where and when. You're a special human being, and we need a lot more Joses out there. So again, I just want to thank you. And again, this is not the last time we'll be speaking.
Definitely not. Honestly, it's as I said before, I love what you do, and honestly, I love being a part of it as well. And I said to you, even when I was in Finland, I was looking forward to every Sunday, and I was looking forward to being a part of it. I was looking forward to watching as well. So it's credit to you as well for all the amazing efforts that you've done with the platform, and it's amazing to see it grow. And honestly, I said it when we did the last 2022 one. I was so excited to see how the platform grows this year, and I'm so excited to see you getting all this success from it as well, because I feel like you really deserve it as well, especially for the amount of effort you put into it and the passion you put into it. I think when you do things with passion, it's good things come to you, and I really hope that 2023 is a massive year for you. I'm so excited.